I know it is hella early for me. You all are not used to me being on this early, but I have an appointment that I have to get to in just a little bit. So if I'm going to squeeze something in, hello 307, then this is the time that I got to do it. So what's up, folks? Glad to see you all popping in here this morning. I will go over like some of the like headlines of the day and that sort of thing. But I really want to talk about, hey, Jay, but I do, what's up, Butter's House? I do want to talk specifically about the Supreme Court. They went over the mail-in vote. They struck down the other ruling from that same judge yesterday. So, it warrants having a conversation about those. Hey, 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 Conchita, as well as a look at a recent speech given by Clarence Thomas. So I want to talk about that. Good morning, Bernard. How are you? So glad to see folks hopping in here. Hey, Amy. Good morning, friend. What's up, Sherry? Good morning, everybody. How are you? Um, I know, Blue Honey Pot. I know it's early. It's a lot earlier than I'm usually on. But remember, Bella has her appointment this morning, so that means I have to get off of here in like 2.5 hours. And so I need to get it in while I can get it in. And we have our project for the people meeting later on this afternoon. So I'm just trying to kind of make it all fit. And Bella seems to have shared her germs. So I have a lot of like sinus crap going on. I went to bed hella early last night trying to get on top of it and doing the like nasal sprays and the saline and all of that. So we didn't, Amy. We have been focused on the Supreme Court this morning. Project for the People meeting is tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you are watching me anywhere other than the Tick of the Talk, right, make sure that you say hi in the chat so that I can greet you because I will not be able to see you. Canceling them all, fuck my life. Of course they are. I'll get to that as well. But so I'm going to tell you what prompted me really focusing in on this, besides the recent court decisions, right, regarding the mail-in voting and that sort of thing. Besides that, there was an individual that I heard on NPR this morning, and he's written a book that's focused on Clarence Thomas and his position on the court. And I good morning, Tech Lady. Good morning, Katsmandu. Good morning, M Tom. How are you? We've known for a while, or at least I have, thanks to appreciate that Clarence is a problem, right? Clarence is problematic. But what I didn't realize, I guess, because I don't listen to him a lot, right? Because I like my sanity. I don't want to throw up in my mouth a whole lot. And I desire to hold my peace, right? So I don't listen to Clarence a ton. But what I didn't realize was just how against and how much they use progressivism as a negative, as if progress is somehow dangerous or horrible or whatever. Good morning, Kimber. Good morning, Kotos. And so listening to this conversation this morning, good morning, Peacekeeper. I was struck by the way that they use this language, and we've heard these talks about Clarence being willing to look at previous cases and things like that. But what I wanted to do is take a look at some of the court cases that specifically the Heritage Foundation has written about that they would like to see overturned or changed. The ones that Clarence has talked about and written about and been open to and suggested that he thinks that these are decisions that need to be looked at and to be overchanged. And so this is a short list of some of those cases. Plyler v. Doe, Humphreys Executor v. the United States, Thornburg v. Jingles, New York Times v. Sullivan, Obergefell v. Hodges, and Griswold v. Connecticut. Good morning, Nancy G. Hey, what's up, Witch? I don't know if I said hey to you or not. What's up, Lucid? Good morning, Ella. How are you? Good to see you over there on Twitch. And so I really thought that this might be important. And so I've pulled up several different sources for us to kind of take a look at. But I've also pulled up a video that's actually Clarence Thomas himself talking. And he gave a speech at the University of Texas just a few months ago. And the way he speaks about progressivism being this danger and about how the court should be willing to undo precedent. And the court should not shy away from looking at 50-year-old precedent, 30-year-old precedent, things like that. And that's alarming to me right? Because when I look at a world prior to the federal government intervention, when I look at the United States of the morning, the United States of America. Good morning, Maryland. And I look at it prior to federal government intervention. It is not a world that is very welcoming towards minorities, towards women, towards different marginalized groups. Good morning, Nikki. Right? And so I'm always alarmed when I hear people talk about going back and undoing precedent. Okay, and I don't know if anybody else has really spent a lot of time thinking about these types of things. So, first, what I would like to do is kind of, yeah, Tara, I am. Bella's got a pediatric pulmonary appointment today. So, and it's 45 minutes away. So I got to do that. Some of the laws still in the books that go into effect if federal is overturned is frightening. Yes, 100%. And that's so Padgel, that's another place of intersectionality. So like it's crazy because if we just look at the overturning of those court cases, that in and of itself is alarming. But if we look at other laws that still exist that would be virtual trigger laws, then it becomes even more alarming as to what might become the law of particular states if these court cases were to be overturned. And there's a reason why the established practice isn't to overturn precedent and why precedent is something that is almost always upheld, right? And so this is something that I really wanted to talk about this morning. I know that it's not like, I know maybe it's not a sexy conversation, but I do believe that it's an important conversation. And so it might not make people get all warm and fuzzy or whatever. Good morning, Desi. Or make you excited or what have you. But hopefully it will have you leaving better informed and maybe even mobilized or incentivized to take some actions, especially on a state level. Because there's two parts to this. One is about just the court in itself. Is the court compromised? That's the first question that I'm asking. My personal opinion to that question is yes. I believe that currently, as it exists today, the Supreme Court of the United States of America is compromised. I also believe that there are significant dangers, right? I believe that there are significant dangers. I also believe that you think you need coffee for this conversation. You are probably correct, Penny. I also believe that that there are significant dangers, especially for Black Americans, immigrants, women, and the LGBT community. Okay, those are the four groups that I think specifically have significant reason to be concerned or alarmed over these court cases, right? So how many of you, if you are not familiar with Plyler v. Doe, can you put a 1 in the chat for me? If you're not familiar with this court case, Plyler v. Doe, put a 1 in the chat for me so we can talk about it just a little bit. Okay. All right. So Plyler v. Doe is the ruling that says that we give education to all children, regardless of immigration status. In short, that's what it is. Okay. And the Heritage Foundation has actually written an article specifically about oh God, I can't stand these people. I almost said I hate these people, and that's not true. I don't hate anyone, but whoa, I really, really, really don't like these people. They are horrible individuals, and they're just heartless, and it's very alarming to me. So let me pull up. Let me see if this is the one that I want. Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. Shit. Hold on. Sorry, guys. I want to find the one thing that I had. I think I accidentally closed. Y'all know how oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. So great. So let me tell you first what I'm reading from. Okay. Good morning, Tundra. Uh, I'm not alarmed. Okay, so let me stop for a second. Yes, Renee, I hate what they stand for. Dirty Bad Bloggers. I'm not alarmed. I because I know that this is how they are and who they are and how they operate. What I am though is adequately concerned, appropriately concerned. Let me say it that way. I am appropriately concerned, and and the reason why I'm talking about this is because it is something that I do not think there's a progressive answer for. Here's what I mean. Okay. You know how we talk about the the strategy of the Heritage Foundation and the other 50 right wing organizations that partner with them. The strategy of them is to do a multitude of things all at the same time. And so at on one place, they're attacking this, and on this hand, they're attacking that, and on this hand, they're doing this. And so sometimes it is difficult to keep up with all the things that they are targeting at that time, right? Good morning, Vera. And so this is one that I don't know that enough people are paying attention to, especially when we have a compromised Senate. Okay. So, the Senate plays a significant role when it comes to confirmation hearings, as we've been discussing. But that's incredibly important when we look at the Supreme Court, especially while we do not have term limits where the Supreme Court is concerned, right? And so this is one that I don't want progressives to sleep on and to not have an appropriate proactive plan for, right? Not a reaction to, not an answer for, but a preventative measure. And so this is something that I think that we need to be talking about and that we need to be addressing. Okay. So, the ACLU is great when they are trying to undo or answer an action that's going to cause harm. I don't know how much preemptive legal work we have to protect and prevent harm that these organizations are trying to do. Am I making sense? So this is the thing. I want to know, and maybe somebody knows, because I don't know everything. Maybe someone knows of progressive legal organizations that are working ahead of time to prevent some of these cases and some of these precedents from being overturned, and things like that. I don't know of any. What I know of are the organizations that respond after these organizations have brought the court cases and brought those things to the courts. Hella, Raja, right? And so I'm interested in how do we get ahead of this fuckery that we know is coming. And listen, whatever they do not get done in this administration, what do we know? We know that they will be preparing, modifying, reinventing, revamping, reshaping, right? Whatever their agenda is for the next conservative Congress, for the next conservative president. That's what they'll do. Everything is fluid to them. And so this is an agenda that they have that I do not believe that they are going to give up. I believe that this is what they believe in their heart is the type of society they need to create, the type of country that they desire for us to have. We miss you too, Raja. And we have to be diligent about not just preventing the society that they desire to create, but about creating the society that we desire to have. And this is something that I don't think that progressives do enough. I don't think that we operate from a space of creation and production more than we do from a defensive posture. And I am tired of it seeming like the good guys, the progressives, the working class, the everyday people. I'm tired of feeling like it's always us fighting off the fucking ropes, right? Instead of us being in the center of the ring, right? And just pounding their ass with jabs so that they keep their distance. And so that's the thing. I am tired of seeing this is what I see progressives have been, especially over the last 15 years. I see progressives against the ropes like this, right? And every now and again, they're able to come up and get in an uppercut, right? Every now and again, they're able to come around and get a little roundhouse and hit the kidneys every now and again, right? But what I want is I want to see progressives get off the fucking ropes, get in the center of the ring, and have them be the one that sets the pace of the fight. Have them be the ones that set the pace of the actual rounds, right? And just jab, stick and move, right? And keep them until they back the fuck off and realize they don't want to get in the ring with us anymore. Because we desire to create a society that is good for all people, working class people, regardless of how they pray, who they love, who they marry, who they don't, all of those different types of things. Okay, so so that's the position from which I do this live this morning. So Plyler v. Doe is the law, is the court case that says we want to educate children in this country regardless of their immigration status. And so the article that I'm reading to you right now, that I'm about to read to you from, is from Education Week. And this article, good morning, Rudin. This article is from March of this year. So this is not this wasn't, good morning, Sharon. This isn't something that's from like 10 years ago. This is literally from March of this year. And the Heritage Foundation has actually specifically said they desire to get rid of Plyler v. Doe. They believe that it is horrendous. They believe that it shouldn't be. And how do I know that? I'm going to tell you how I know. They literally wrote an article about it. Okay, so first let me tell you what Heritage says about it. Are you guys ready? So the Heritage Foundation says, and this article is from February the 17th of this year. Lest anyone think that I'm like jesting or that this isn't a very real thing. It says the title of the Heritage Foundation's article is "Every State Should Challenge Plyler v. Doe. Time to End Free Education for Illegal Alien K through 12 Students." That's what they believe. And so here's what they say. Here's the summary. Are you ready? Illegal aliens should not be eligible for federal, state, or local government benefits, including through their children, because the receipt of such benefits facilitates longer unlawful residence in the United States and takes resources from American citizens and lawful immigrants. The role of elected officials is to prioritize finite resources among those seeking the resources. States have a convincing interest in preserving limited taxpayer dollars by prioritizing U.S. citizens and lawful immigrants to receive a tuition-free public education while charging full tuition for illegal alien students. Such a state law can well withstand judicial scrutiny, and the Supreme Court should overturn Plyler v. Doe. So I want to be very clear. They are talking about two separate things here. Okay. They are talking about, number one, the Supreme Court overturning Plyler v. Doe. And they are talking about, number two, states creating their own laws that would prevent the children of unauthorized immigrants from receiving free public education. Now, I want to be clear about something. This is where I get really irritated and pissed off. Okay? Because there needs to be some distinctions made. And this is why it becomes incredibly important for people to understand border security, immigration terminology, immigration law, and how we actually classify immigrants in this country. Okay? So you have, they just use the term illegal alien. Okay? And I want to be clear that illegal alien doesn't Okay, give me a second. I'm going to go to Title 8, definition of illegal alien. Okay. So for those of y'all who do not know, Title 8 is our is in fact our immigration law as it exists today. Yes, which so using the term alien is in and of itself dehumanizing, right? You are referring to someone as if they are not a human being, as if they are something from outer space, not from this world, not whatever. And so one of the things that I think that Congress should do is I think that Congress should rewrite these laws. And when we do immigration law, we need to use humanizing language. I don't believe that anywhere in our laws should we refer to human beings as aliens or anything that is not human. I think that that should be a given. Because guess what? We don't write laws for actual aliens, do we? No. Right? Nobody is coming here. ET is not going to be governed by law. And so I think it's just really important that that be number one. But here's what Title 8 says. It says an alien, quote unquote, is defined as any person who is not a citizen of or national of the United States. Now, this is important. That means you can be an immigrant that has legal status and you're still considered to be an alien. Okay, so listen to what it says. It typically uses the term of quote unquote unauthorized alien, an alien present in the United States without inspection or authorization, or someone who has violated immigration laws regarding entry and stay. But alien is specifically defined, and this is why this gets important. Good morning, Scarlett. So this is why this gets important because the legality and the terminology can be very confusing, and there's places of question and ambiguity. So when it says that an alien is any person lacking citizenship or national status, right, in the U.S., then that means you could be here on a visa. That means you could be here as a temporary protected status. You could be here as a refugee. And you would still be considered a quote unquote alien because you do not have citizenship and you are not a permanent legal resident. And the first question that I would say to you is that appropriate? If someone is here on a work visa, say they come here and they're working here for 2 or 3 years and they have their children and their families here, are we saying that they should pay to go to our public school systems? Because they are absolutely participating in our tax system. Their income is being taxed. They are contributing to the taxes that fund public education. So why should their children not be allowed to benefit from the taxes that they are paying in this country? Okay. Next. 8 USC 1324A describes a non-citizen that's not authorized to be employed or reside in the country. Right, their purchases are being taxed, all of those things. And so it's really important. And okay, so can I just do this before we get into all of these little minute details, right? Before we get into that, can I just say this first and foremost? My position, period, is that children should not be penalized for the actions of their parents. And I do not want to be a country that says, because your parents came here, however the fuck they came here, that you as a child are denied access to education. I just don't believe that that represents the greatest nation in the world, where we penalize, appreciate you, the tech lady, or we withhold things from children. I believe that children should receive whatever we can give them, and that we should desire to take care of all children. That's just my take. I just don't desire to be a person that looks at a child and says, your immigration status determines the value of you as a child and determines whether or not you should have the benefit of an education, or whether or not you should be able to eat, whether or not you should have a roof over your head, all of those different types of things. So that's just me as a person. That's me. And let me also say this. One of the things that I think I am so, not I think, I am, one of the things that I am tired of seeing organizations like the Heritage Foundation do and congresspersons that typically are part of the GOP do is to act as if these immigrants are receiving benefits. And because of that, it is taking away from working class people and their children. When in reality, what is taking away from working class people and their children are the fucking ultra rich. A child going to K through 12 public school is not the reason you and your child are struggling. You are struggling because we give a shit ton of tax breaks to the ultra wealthy, to the ultra rich, to corporations. They pay shit in taxes, and they want you to be mad at the immigrants who are paying taxes because their children are going to public school. And I'm tired of seeing that. And I am tired of seeing working class people be blinded by their bigotry and buying into that sentiment. And you can be mad if you want to that I just said it's your bigotry, but it is. That is all that it can be. So let me just say this. I don't know of another thing. I don't know of another thing that would make you feel angry towards immigrants or to the children of unauthorized immigrants, except for bigotry, because it cannot be that they are the reason you don't have anything, because they're not the reason, right? Common sense and facts accurately demonstrates that the reason the working class in the United States of America does not have enough is because of the top 1% in this country. Like that, those are just the facts, folks. It's not the family that's out working, right, and paying into the system that is simply trying to get by and whatever. They are not the cause, right? They are not responsible for how much your wages are. Contrary to what they would have you believe, unauthorized immigrants are not the reason you're not paid a livable wage. No, it's the fucking greedy corporations that want a 300% profit margin. Just so we're clear, it's not those people. And if you can't get there, so like if you can't get past the fact that they are unauthorized immigrants, I would hazard a guess that it is your bigotry. You don't have to like that. That's okay. But that's what I say. Okay? So sorry, you guys. I told y'all Bella shared her germs with me. So I'm doing my best to stay ahead of it so that I don't get super sick. But here we go. And no, that's not an invitation for all of your medicinal answers. No, that was not an invitation for you to tell me what I need to do. I love y'all, mean it, but no, I got this. It's okay. Okay, so let me share it with you. The key takeaways. I'm just saying, Marky, Salam Abdul. Because I can hear y'all right now. You need to get some echinacea. You need to do some elderberry tea. And you need to do some, listen, I can just see y'all right now. So I'm just saying, I'm good. Yeah, I'm sure. Good morning, David. Okay, but let me give you, so I'm actually reading, let me share this with you all so you can see it, right? So let me show you this Heritage Foundation article, okay? And I'm now going to give you the 6 key takeaways from this report. You know, they love to write a good ass report, y'all, right? So here's what they say. 6 states, I don't know if you all know this or not, 6 states challenged the 1982 Plyler v. Doe Supreme Court decision, ruling that states must provide free education to illegal alien children in public schools. 2, the majority in Plyler acknowledged that illegal alien status is not an immutable characteristic, quote, since it is the product of conscious, indeed unlawful action, end quote. 3, the court should overturn Plyler because states have an interest in preventing illegal aliens from receiving benefits paid by citizen and legal resident taxpayers. So, for those who don't know, in 2025, 6 states introduced legislation or a rule concerning illegal alien K through 12 students in public schools. The measures range from collecting immigration status and reporting that data to state officials to actually charging tuition for students attending public schools. This, and I'm reading straight from the Heritage Foundation site. This is an unsurprising and appropriate, they say, state response to the large number of inadmissible aliens resettled in their communities without their consent, agreement, or permission during the Biden administration's 4-year open border operations. As of this writing, none of the legislation has been enacted. So I want to pause right there for a second. So I think it's important, you all know me, I think it's important that we address misinformation as soon as it is said. So this line right here, that it says that there was a Biden administration 4-year open border operations. That's bullshit. There was never a 4-year open border operation period in this country. That's not a thing. It did not exist. Okay. So let me ask this question because I'm on at a different time of day. So I don't know how many of you all are new to me or not. So if you are new to me, will you put a 1 in the chat for me? Good morning, M. Tom. If you're new to me, can you put a 1 in the chat just so I can see real quick? Appreciate you, Indigo. How late are you? You are 30 minutes late. Michelle, you're not new. Hush. Neither are you, the action. The lies y'all tell. Harley, you're new. Welcome. Glad to see you. Sasha, you're new. Welcome. Glad to see you. Ellen. Okay, great. I love this. Not new, but not consistent enough to feel old. I got you, Creole. Appreciate that. Okay. Jersey Joe, you're definitely not new. Miss Mary Mack, you are. Okay. So let me ask those of you who said that you're new to me, if you were going to rate how well you believe you are versed in immigration during the Biden-Harris administration, let me see how I can get you to do this for me. Thanks, Butters. Okay, so let me ask you this. So if you are new to me, those of you all that are new to me, if you are not, how do I do this, y'all? I want to kind of see where people are and see how helpful it would be for me to go over immigration during the Biden-Harris administration. Here would be a good way for me to check your temperature. Okay. If you are new to me, or even if you're not, if you're like, sometimes you're in, sometimes you're out. If you are not familiar with Title 42 and its use in immigration from 2020 to 2023, could you put a 2 in the chat? If you are not familiar with Title 42 and its use with regard to immigration and the border from 2020 to 2023, put a 2 in the chat, because this will help me give you some information and some background. Okay, lots of you guys aren't. Great, perfect. So this will be helpful information, okay? So let me go to That's what I want. And I want to go to here. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to change your screen just so you can see this. I missed the gift, but thank you for whoever sent it. Okay. All right. So let me just share this with you all. Okay, Marilyn, I got you. Title 42 is a public health policy. It is not a law. It is a public health policy that was enacted by the CDC during the Trump administration in 2020 in response to C-19. Okay, so C-19 had happened, and we needed to put some measures in place. Okay, Michelle, we needed to put some measures in place that because this is what Title 42 is. It is, quote, to prevent spread of communicable disease. And so you use it specifically when there is a communicable disease that could be spread in the United States, and you need to stop entry at the border. Okay, so it was enacted in March of 2020 by the CDC during the Trump administration. Okay, and so what it did was it changed the way that we handled encounters at the border. All right. So I want to give you all some really important information. And for those of you guys that can see my screen, you'll see what I'm about to tell you. Title 8 is our normal immigration law. Title 42 is public health policy. Because it is a public health policy, okay, there's no legal, civil, or criminal law that is being applied. Okay. So that's the difference. Title 8 is a law. Title 42 is public health policy. And it changed the way we handled the border. And it wasn't something that the Biden-Harris administration enacted. It was something that the Trump administration enacted because of C-19. Okay. So here's what it did. The initial processing time for when we encountered people at the border changed. Under Title 8, it averaged around 1.5 hours where we met somebody that was at the border. We kind of went over all of their information. We see if they were qualified to apply for asylum or CAT or any of the other statuses or programs, right? And that normally took an hour and a half. And if they tried to come in illegally under Title 8, it was a misdemeanor and they could get a potential fine. It's just like if you run a stoplight, get a speeding ticket, it's a civil infraction, okay? And so that was the penalty for unauthorized border crossing. Under Title 42, there was no penalty. Why? Because it's not a law. It's a public health policy, okay? Under Title 42, the processing time was 15 minutes. They got the information and then they were rejected and they were immediately removed. Okay. Next, under Title 8, if you repeated that illegal entry, if you tried again to come into the country unauthorized, then it became a felony. It becomes a felony, which means there's an increase in the severity of punishment. You can have like up to 5 years imprisonment, and you are actually barred from ever seeking asylum in the future. Okay. Under Title 42, again, there's no penalty. So under Title 42, you could keep trying to enter the country illegally, and there was no penalty for doing so. Okay. Under our normal immigration law, Title 8, the recidivism rate is 7%. So only 7% of the time do people repeatedly try to enter the country illegally. Under Title 42, the recidivism rate was 27%. So damn near 1/3 of the times that people were entering or attempting to enter the United States during the Biden-Harris administration from 2020 of the Trump administration through 2023 of the Biden-Harris administration, almost 1/3 of that were repeat offenders. So those astronomical numbers that you saw that Republicans kept saying, 2 million people, 3 million people, 27% of that were repeat offenders. They were not new people. And that's an important distinction to make, okay? So there were not open borders. Now here's something else that you need to know. Do you know that the Biden-Harris administration attempted, beginning in 2021, to get rid of Title 42? They wanted to go back to Title 8, and they were actually sued by Republican states to keep Title 42 in place. Why? Because they desired to have the Biden-Harris administration have alarmingly high immigration numbers because they needed to use immigration as a talking point, as a fear tactic for the 2024 election. And that's important for people to know. I love the AI summary. It said debunking misinformation on the open border myth. Thank you. I love that. Appropriate and accurate AI summary. So, this is something that people didn't know about the border. And it's really important information for people to know. And that's again why I say this has to do with your bigotry. Because if you cannot hear those facts and see that information and understand that it was a tactic, right? Then it's going to be your bigotry that keeps you from understanding that. So, can I show you all a document that's helpful in outlining this? So, I know that you guys can see it over here, but for you guys that are on TikTok, this is what that comparison looks like. So you can see Title 8 versus Title 42. It's public health. This is immigration and border. You can see the recidivism rate, 7%. This is 27%. You can see there are no penalties under Title 42. And you can see it's a misdemeanor and a possible fine under Title 8, and then it becomes a felony. So this is really important information. So when the Heritage Foundation writes a report, the first thing that they do is they try to tell you that these are quote unquote illegal aliens. The first thing that you need to do is recognize that that is dehumanizing language. That's the first thing that you should immediately go. If I am trying to talk to you about anyone, it doesn't matter who that is, and I use language that dehumanizes those people, whether I'm saying they are tainting the blood, whether I say they are the worst of the worst, and they are thugs, or they are coming from asylums, whether I say they are eating cats and dogs, whether I say, any of those things, anything that makes them other than human, right? That's language that should automatically make you go, oh, you're trying to manipulate me. And this is something that I want everyone to start doing. We need to start recognizing when anyone is using language that is an attempt to manipulate you. You should always ask yourself the question, who benefits from the wording of this headline? Who benefits from the wording of this report? Who benefits from the perspective and the lens through which this story is being told? Okay? So let me continue. I'm going to keep going. So by facilitating, and listen to what they say, listen to the Heritage Foundation. By facilitating and enabling mass migration into and throughout the United States, the Biden administration burdens states and localities with unsustainable costs, including public education. That's simply not true. It's just simply not true. That's not something that happened. Okay? So in Plyler v. Doe, that Supreme Court decision from 1982, it was a 5-4 majority led by Justice William Brennan, held that a Texas statute withholding state funds from local school districts for the education of, they keep saying illegal alien children, but I'm going to say unauthorized immigrant children, violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, because it does. Okay? Every time, I really want you all to pay attention to this. And this is not, let me just say this. Well, yes, absolutely. So let's talk about that. Here, let me invite you to the panel. K-Knob, let's talk about that. Can you join the panel for me? K-Knob? Nope, you guys don't address him. I got it. Thank you. K-Knob, can you join the panel? You can't right now? Okay, so then here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you can't join this panel, then I'm going to end up, good morning, Dubs. I'm going to end up muting you if you keep putting false information in my chat. Because it's not, what you just said isn't accurate. So under the Biden-Harris administration, the highest inflation rate, which came in June of 2022, was 9.1%. And that was a direct response and result of a global supply chain disruption due to C-19. And it was a result of the 2020 OPEC deal that former President Trump made regarding oil and gas, and the 2018 deal that he also when he made the oil and gas industry collapse in 2018. So when you come in my chat and you say that Biden had inflation of 23%, that's not true. And his average for the entire 4 years was roughly 4.9%. And that's crazy because that was including a global pandemic and the 2020 OPEC deal, right? Whereas we are sitting over 3% right now with none of that. We don't have a global pandemic. This president inherited an inflation rate of less than 3%. So, yeah. So one of the things that I do in this live, and it's different from maybe other lives that you all might be used to, is I don't let people just say whatever the hell they want to say. When you are inaccurate, I'm going to ask you to join this panel. I'm going to ask you to have a fact-based conversation, and we are going to go to actual sources and material that validates or debunks what you're saying. And if you can't join the panel, I don't let you just sit in the chat and continue to put in things that are false or fake or misleading. Let me just take a look. So McKinney, did you mean to request up? Okay, apparently not. All right. So, what they attempt to do, what the Heritage Foundation attempts to do is first of all use inaccurate, misleading information, right? They want to use dehumanizing information to make regular working class folks believe and think that somehow unauthorized immigrant children residing in the United States of America are keeping your children or taking from your children benefits of public education that you pay into. The reality is that they also pay into the tax system, right? They pay federal, state, and local taxes. I believe it was in 2022, it was like $97 billion worth of taxes. And let me just pull it up because I don't like I used to know the number like exactly, but I haven't talked about it in a minute. So let me just pull it up real quick. Yep, I was right. 2022, $96.7 billion in federal, state, and local taxes. And so I wanted to make sure that I got that right. $59.4 billion of that was paid to the federal government. $37.3 billion was paid to state and local governments. So when we talk about those unauthorized immigrant children, right, they belong to parents that are paying into the system. And again, even if they did not, it is not those children that are taking away from your children. It is the ultra rich, it is the corporations, it is the 1% that's hiding their tax dollars in fucking third party countries so that they can stay untaxed. It is, it's that. And so I think it's really important that we keep the focus on where it belongs. There is not a single soul, there is not an unauthorized immigrant that is the cause of your financial problems. They don't own the Fortune 500 companies that aren't paying livable wages. They don't own the AI companies that are just absolutely borrowing the fuck out of money right now and crippling our economy. They don't own the flock cameras that are collecting all of your information and your data. They don't own the data centers that are storing all of your information. They don't control the Supreme Court. They don't control your Congress. They don't control any of those things. And it is really, really important that you understand that. There's not a thing that they are doing. So it's really important to keep the focus where it belongs. Okay? Good morning, Kanan.
Good morning. It's the K is silent. It's just not.
Okay. What would you like to share?
Well, you had invited me up at the time. I didn't come up. So,
okay.
Now I'm able to.
Okay. And what part of it would you like to discuss now?
Well, I said that Biden's administration had an overall 22%, 21% inflation rate, and you said that wasn't accurate. So, I mean,
right. Yeah, you said 23%. Yeah, you said 23%, and I said that wasn't correct.
I think, I don't know, did I say 23?
Yeah, you said 23.
Okay, so it was 21%.
Except it wasn't. You're referencing the consumer price index, and the consumer price index rose 21.5%. Inflation only reached 9.1% in June of 2022, and that was the peak.
Yeah. Well, this is just what it says on a simple Google search. Is the cumulative total inflation rate during the Biden administration from January 2021 to January 2025 was approximately 21.2 to 21.4%.
What does cumulative mean? And what you're talking about is cumulative prices, is what it says.
It says, I just read what it says, but it says the cumulative inflation rate. That's exactly what it says.
Okay, so are you reading an AI summary?
Yeah, which has a button you can press to tell you where everything comes from.
Okay, so hold on now. Let me just share. So what AI does is it just simply scans the entire internet and it brings all of that information in and gives you like a summary. So let me ask you this. What did you specifically type in to Google?
What was the overall inflation rate for the Biden-Harris administration?
Great. So do you understand? So here's what you did. You said overall inflation rate, which AI is looking, and it goes out and it pulls in cumulative numbers and adds things together. Okay. So
yes,
here's what
there's articles.
I know, but what
say the same thing without it being a Google search.
Okay.
It's just a reference to one of these articles or one of these sources. We know that the inflation rate was really high. I mean, it just happened. I mean, this is not old. The inflation rate was very high. I don't know.
I'm going to tell you exactly what it was, and I'm going to give you. Do me a favor. Type in right now. What was the peak inflation rate under Biden? Peak inflation rate under Biden.
Without me looking, I believe that's going to be 9%.
because that's what I just told you. Right. So that means,
I just already knew that.
but this is what I'm telling you. So listen, so what that means is inflation, the inflation rate never got above 9.1%. That was the highest it got. You are referring to the cumulative prices or the consumer price index, which rose 21.5% under Biden. And the reason,
let me tell you exactly what I'm referring to. If in the first year the inflation goes up 4%, let's say,
it
and
didn't.
then the next year, I'm saying this for example. This is what I'm trying to tell you is that it went up every year.
And what
So it went up
Jesus
4%
Christ.
one year, 5% another year, 9% another year, and then after 4 years have passed, it has went up 20-some percent. That's what I'm saying, the cumulative effect of his totality of his administration.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do, because it's really important for us to understand the numbers that we're talking about. So let me show you. So when you look, and I'm going to show you by year. This is the historical chart for our inflation rates. You see inflation rate by year, historical chart data. Okay. So these are the charts. This is 2021. Do you see? This is the annual percent change. This is the actual rate itself. So a percent change and the rate itself is not the same thing. It's just so important to know what we're talking about. So like if you look, these are this is factcheck.org. These are the actual numbers. Okay? And so when you look at the numbers, these are the overall numbers for the Biden-Harris administration. And if you go to wages and inflation, the consumer price index rose 21.5% under Biden, right? It's also going to show you that what the inflation rate is. So hold on one second. And I'm going to do, because this is just easy for me. So the worst spike, 9.1 increase in the CPI, right? This is the worst that we had. And if you look, here's the overall peak rate, 9.1% in June of 2022. Do you see? That's it.
I'm looking at my cell phone, so it's kind of little, but yeah, I have that information already. Like I said, it's
right. So can we talk about? And it was just 1 month, but can we talk about what are the drivers of inflation? What caused under the Biden-Harris administration? Can you share with me what it was that drove those inflation prices, the inflation rates? What were the drivers of those increases?
Well, I know they had done a lot of, to me, policies that weren't good for businesses.
What policies were that?
It was they had cut back on some of the oil drilling.
No, they did not. The Biden-Harris administration actually drilled more. We had drilling records under the Biden-Harris administration.
Okay, well, I'm gonna Google that, right?
Okay.
I see you referencing stuff. I'm gonna reference stuff too. I don't want to say anything that's not accurate. Like I said, that was my understanding that they pulled back on some of the permits.
We actually had record production of U.S. crude oil outputs under Joe Biden. They approved drilling permits for public lands at a pace that outpaced the first 3 years of President Trump.
Okay, so yeah, President Joe Biden enacted temporary pauses and broad restrictions on new oil and gas leasing on public lands and waters during his term.
Okay.
But overall permitting for existing bases continued and even rose at various points.
Correct. So this is the thing that's really important to understand is when you say he restricted in one area, there were federal lands that needed to be protected, and there were public lands that absolutely soared and increased. And so it's important to understand exactly what did or didn't happen. So he did do exactly. So when you understand, he used the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act to permanently withdraw federal waters, the Atlantic and Pacific coast, from oil and gas leasing. Okay, that he also blocked oil leasing in portions of the Arctic Ocean and large sections of public land that were speculative. But when you look at where they actually increased, we had record crude oil production under the Biden-Harris administration. You can literally look at it by month and see that. So can I show you really quickly? Biden administration oil drilling permits outpaced Trump. So I'm looking at January 30th of 2024. Data from the Interior Department's Bureau of Land Management showed that the Biden administration granted 3,377 permits to drill on public land in just 2023 alone. Joe Biden, at that time, at the beginning of 2024, his last year in office, had approved nearly 50% more oil and gas drilling permits for wells on federal land since taking office than former President Donald Trump did in his first 3 years.
In 2024, Miss Dani.
Listen, here's what it said, is they were comparing the first 3 years of Joe Biden's presidency, 2021, 2022, and 2023. This report came out January of 2024, and they were comparing Joe Biden's first 3 years with Trump's first 3 years. And Joe Biden had outpaced him and approved nearly 50% more than Trump did during his first term.
Can you tell me why the gas prices were high, $5 in some sense? We think the gas
Yes, I can.
is high now.
Yes, I can.
Okay, I know you can.
Yes. So it is called.
Because we have a war now, and we have high gas prices. We know why. I don't like the fact that he started that war, but even with that, the gas prices weren't as high as they were under Biden. The people are screaming and hollering. It's kind of funny, but it's sad at the same time because the gas prices didn't have to be this high. But
so there's two things. Here's the thing. What Joe Biden didn't do was cause the gas prices. There were two things that significantly caused the gas prices in 2022 to reach $5 and something a gallon. Number one was the disruption of a global supply chain due to a global pandemic. That played a huge part in it. The second part was Donald Trump's 2020 OPEC deal. So are you familiar with that OPEC deal?
With Donald Trump's OPEC deal?
Yeah, in 2020.
No, tell me about it.
Okay, so he did an OPEC deal, and he made a deal with Putin and a deal with OPEC in 2020, and it's a big deal. So let me give you the deal. So I'm going to give you a few facts that are really important to understand. So in April of 2020, Donald Trump cut a deal with Vladimir Putin, the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and OPEC to intentionally increase oil prices and bail out his biggest oil donors after a price war happened between Russia and Saudi. And that's what sent...
When something reads that way...
Yep, so hold on.
Okay,
hold on, I'm going to pull up the actual deal for you. So give me a second. Oh, stop. I hate it when they put little ads in front of me so I can't see what I want. Do, do, do. So this is from the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. Okay, this was a press release in 2020, and here's what it says. The 10th extraordinary OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting was held via video conference on Sunday, April 12, 2020, under the chairmanship of HRH Prince Abdul Aziz bin Salman and Saudi Arabia's Minister of Energy and co-chair H.E. Alexander Novak, Minister of Energy of the Russian Federation. The meeting reaffirmed the continued commitment of the participating producing countries in the Declaration of Cooperation to a stable market, the mutual interest of producing nations, the efficient, economic, and secure supply to consumers, and a fair return on invested capital. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing. There's 6 different points, but this is the actual meeting that took place. So watch this. If you Google impact of 2020 OPEC deal on United States, gas prices, it's going to show you what actually happened. It slashed global oil production by 9.7 million barrels per day initially, right? And that was to help the market during C19. But then it caused horrendous gas prices come 2020. So as pandemic restrictions lifted and the global economy soared back faster than the OPEC restored production, it created that tight global supply. And so what that led to, because they agreed in this 2020 OPEC deal to slow down production so that gas prices wouldn't go so high in 2020, right? Then that is what caused it to go past $5 a gallon by the summer of 2022. So while it,
I was going to say that deal was made because during that time the demand was so low for the oil, and OPEC was still producing a lot of oil. And
exactly. So he did it to bail out the oil and gas industry.
No, he did it to save the economy.
No, it wasn't to save the economy. It was to save the oil and gas industry.
Okay.
So listen. So here, the people weren't hurting. So the people benefit. Hold on. The people benefit when we have a higher supply. A higher supply means we have lower prices. Right?
Okay, so let me see. I just pulled this up. It says the combination of low demand and oversupply of oil, which is where we were at, caused crude prices to crash to historic lows.
Which is good for who?
Well, it says with U.S. oil prices briefly dropping below $0 a barrel, threatening to bankrupt the entire U.S. shale oil sector.
Which means he made the deal to bail out those companies.
Well, he didn't bail them out.
He did.
Okay.
And I'm going to share with you. So listen, hold on. Listen now. Listen. He got Russia and Saudi to reduce their production so that oil prices would stabilize across the board because we had an oversupply with low demand. So by getting our competitors to slow down their demand, we were able to level out the gas prices and save American oil and gas companies. So what that did, though, was when demand went back in 2021 and 2022, right? And OPEC and those folks had still slowed their production and they didn't ramp up fast enough. We now had a greater demand and a low supply, which caused prices to go to $5 a damn gallon in June of 2022. So you just asked me to share with you what caused the prices to soar in 2022. And I said to you 2 things: COVID and the 2020 OPEC deal.
Okay, so what do you think would have happened had he not saved the U.S.?
So here's the thing. You are not an oil and gas expert. Neither am I. But
right.
So wait, here's what we're not going to do. Wait, stop for a minute, please. I'm not going to play the what ifs because you don't know what would have happened and I don't know what would have happened. What I do know is what did happen.
Okay, so let's concentrate on what did happen. If he did it for that reason, to save the U.S. oil companies, that sounds like a good.
It doesn't sound like a good thing to me, and I'll share with you why.
And you're right about that. You can, because we've seen bailouts before. Obama did very historic bailouts.
Again,
and
I'll be damned.
Did you disagree with those? I mean, I'm just asking. Did you disagree with those? I don't know, because now there's some people who do, and they're not wrong. They said, let businesses do what they're going to do. Let them fail if they're going to fail. But we did bail those out, and we know what the history of that was. It actually worked, but we had people complain about bailing out businesses, but not people.
Can you tell me when Barack Obama left office?
What year was that? I'm waking up in the morning, and that's why I wasn't ready to get on in the first place. But no, I don't remember what year it was.
Here's what I know. It's been more than a damn decade, and it has nothing to do with what is happening right now.
No, I was just referencing a bailout.
Right, but this is my point, right? This is my point. I am not doing the but what about isms from some shit that happened a decade ago because I don't care. It's not relevant right now to this moment. I literally don't care. The man has not been in office since 2015. It has been over a decade. Right. So what I want to focus on, but hold on, what I'm addressing, here's what I'm addressing. What I'm addressing is the inaccurate information that you put in the chat. Number one, that inflation reached 23% when it did not. It reached 9.1%, and it reached 9.1% as a direct result of a global pandemic. That's number one.
It reached 9% 1 month out of a year.
Right.
I said it's cumulative.
No, you did not.
I did say that, and I read the whole.
No, I'm talking about not in my chat. I'm talking about not in my chat. And here's what I am saying to you.
I think I put overall.
God damn.
I said his overall inflation rate. I think
that wasn't his overall inflation rate. His average inflation rate by year was 4.9%. You are talking about cumulative increases in the consumer price index, which is not the same thing.
Okay, so if his average is 4.9% annually, if that's what you're saying, and then you have 4 years, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 years, you're at over 20% inflation rate. Jesus Christ. No, you're not. That's not the way it works. You cannot say that it is no, you're adding them together as if that is the actual inflation rate, and it's not. Because every year the price rates went up. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. So do you understand? It couldn't, stop for a minute. It could not have continued to go up. Why? Because when Donald Trump took office, he inherited an inflation rate of 2.9%. It didn't go up every year. When Donald Trump took office, he inherited. Do you know what the average Jesus Christ normal inflation rate is per year? I do. Do you? Yeah, I do. Okay, so tell me what it is. Tell me what it is. I just said it. I said it's usually 1.3%. No, that is not what it usually is. Okay, and it's actually horrible when it goes below 2%. It's not great for the inflation rate to be, when the inflation rate gets down around 1%, that's not good. Okay, so what is Donald Trump's inflation rate right now? The current inflation rate is 3.4%. So according to you, that's good. I didn't say that. I said 2%. Okay. Where is 3.4% the same as 2%? Okay, I didn't hear you say that. My bad, because I read a comment somebody said 3%. They said 3% is good, and anyway, that's what.
No, they said 3% was the average.
Is the average okay? So if he's right at the average, right?
No, he's not. So listen, wait. Let me listen. Hold on. This part's important. He inherited a 2.9% inflation rate. That's what he got. So here's the part that's really important. Do you know what the inflation rate was when Joe Biden took office?
Well, I don't know what it was. I just know there was a pandemic going on with all kind of things happening. Now,
but wait. So now you want to talk about the pandemic, but you don't want to talk about the pandemic for Joe Biden.
No, I don't talk about the pandemic with Joe Biden.
Okay, but wait. So you want to say whatever it was that Joe Biden inherited is because of the pandemic, but you don't want to say that whatever it was under Joe Biden was also because of the pandemic.
Okay, so we had
because the pandemic only existed for the last 9 to 10 months of the Trump administration. Okay, right. So when Joe Biden inherited, hold on, I'm going to finish. Joe Biden inherited an inflation rate of 1.4%. 1.4%, right? Which is not great. And it wasn't great because of the global pandemic. Okay. So January of 2021, I just want you to hear what we're saying. January 2021, he inherits 1.4% and a global pandemic, global supply chain disruption, and all of these other things. Okay. Just a year and a half later, that inflation rate, because of that global pandemic and the 2020 OPEC deal, inflation has reached 9.1%. It peaks at 9.1% in June or July of 2022. And by the time he leaves office in 2 years after that, it's back down to 2.9%. Do you understand how really fucking smart Joe Biden and his policies had to be to cut it by 2/3 in 2 years and 5 months? It's coming after a global pandemic with global supply chain disruptions and millions of people in this country and around the world dead. Do you know just how we were the country that recovered the fastest economically because of the policies that he enacted?
Yeah, I don't know where you're getting that from. I'll tell you this.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? You don't know where I'm getting what from?
Inflation was not good during Joe Biden.
Did you just hear what I said? It peaked at 9.1% in July of 2022. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, and when he left office, Donald Trump inherited 2.9%. Yes or no? Yes or no? Did Donald Trump inherit a 2.9% inflation rate? I can't hear you if you're speaking, Ma.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, something's going on.
Okay.
I said yes.
Okay, great. So what that means is in 2.5 years, Joe Biden was able to get the inflation rate down from 9.1%, its highest mark following a global pandemic, down to 2.9% by the time he left office. Which means whatever he did, whatever policies he enacted during that 2.5-year period, cut inflation by 2/3.
Okay. You're saying that when in 2021 it goes up 4.7%, 2022 it goes up 9%. You're saying
Jesus Christ.
You're saying that the line goes down. You're not saying it's the starting point of where it's at and it keeps going up? Because what I'm trying to get across is that it went up 4.7% in 2021. It went up 9%, which is the highest in 40 years inflation has ever happened in 2022. It went up 9.1%. 2023 went up 4.1%, and 2024 went up 2.9%, like you just said. It goes up from the starting point it was the previous year. So I'm saying overall, cumulative effect is 20. Okay, no, you're saying no. Why is that no?
Because you're not understanding. And I already did a visual, but I will do another visual, you all. Just hold on, chat, for real. And I want chat, don't be fucking rude, please. Please don't be rude, because it's not helpful. Hold on, can I hold on a moment. I am literally going to show you from the U.S. Bureau of Labor. See this? So if you look, this is the high. Do you see this? And here's the chart. Give me a sec. Oh, shit. I just hit a different thing. Hold on, y'all. All right. So if I'm in 2020, and this is what is this? This is the consumer price index. This is not what I wanted, but it will give you a good idea. We'll just use this, and I'm just going to show you. So if I'm looking at 2022, and this is just the consumer price index, and I'm at September is 6.6. Do you see the numbers continually going down, continually going down, continually going down? Do you see that? This is one part of the overall inflation. There, it's showing you continually going down. So no, it did not go up. It did, in fact, continually go down. So
that was for 1 year.
No, that is not. Jesus Christ, no. Do you not see the years?
That was for the year.
Look, these are the years over here. These are the years, and then these are the months.
Like I said, I'm looking on my phone. I can't see that.
Yeah, so these are the years. It peaks in 2022, just like we said, and then it continues to go down in 2022 and 2023 and 2024. It goes down every year and every month. So no, it did not continue to go up.
That's why I said, let me see the line graph that is.
I just showed you the numbers and the line graph. Listen, look, this is the line. Do you see the line? This is 22, and this is 2023. Do you see it going down, 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 down?
2021, 22.
Yep, there's the peak in 2022. And now look, 2023, 2024. Look at that, all the way to the current president.
Okay, and what's it doing with the current president?
Oh my God. So hold on, and I'm going to show you it by month. Hold on. Because this is not difficult. And I don't know why we're having a hard time. But hold on a second. Inflation rate by month, 2025 and 2026. So let me go to, this is perfect. So hold on, let me share it with these folks over here. See the chart? This is 2021 inflation. This is the annual rate, not what it peaked in that 1 month, but this is the annual inflation rate. Joe Biden gets it down to 2.9%. 2025, it's 2.7%. So it holds. This year, it's already up to 3.4%.
All right.
So right now, Trump is where Joe Biden was in 2023.
All right. So look, this is my understanding of the cumulative inflation rate. It's the total price.
Can we stop? No, stop. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I'm not. No, listen to me. Listen. I am not going to do, you keep talking about a cumulative inflation rate. I'm not going to do that when I have showed you, stop interrupting, please. When I have literally showed you month by month, year by year, from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics and the U.S. inflation calculator, right? I'm not going to do that and let you keep talking about cumulative this, that, and the other. I'm not doing that. So here's something that is really important about this space, okay? I do facts and data, and in the middle of that facts and data, if you refuse to acknowledge what the facts and data are showing you, okay, then I'm not arguing with you about that, because that is your choice to not actually look at the facts. The facts are literally staring you in your face. I have showed you several different graphs. I've showed you one showing a bar graph. I've showed you a line graph. I've showed you a digit graph. I have showed you damn near every kind of graph that I can show you that shows you exactly what I'm saying. I've also showed you the OPEC deal of 2020. I've also showed you the impact of Title 42, Title 8, and all of the things. I don't understand why this is difficult for you.
Because my claim was his overall inflation rate for his administration, and that's why the cumulative is what matters.
No, it is not. Cumulative doesn't mean shit.
So, like, when you hear that the yearly inflation rate dropped from 8% to 2.9%, it does not mean prices went down.
Yes.
It just means prices are rising at a slower pace.
No, that's not what it means.
Yearly inflation tells you how much prices rose over the last 12 months. Cumulative inflation rolls all of those annual increases together into one total percentage to show the overall damage to your purchasing power.
So first of all, you need to understand the difference between inflation and the consumer price index, because they are not the same thing.
I'm reading what inflation, yearly inflation, cumulative inflation. I'm reading what the cumulative means and what annual means and what it means overall. He didn't have a negative inflation rate to go for the prices to go down. He just had a slower rate of increase.
Except if the rate is going down, it's not increasing.
Okay, well, listen, I just read that to you, and you showed me what you showed me, and I'm telling you that's
cumulative inflation. Listen, you are literally reading an AI overview. Cumulative inflation is if inflation is going up. If inflation is going down, the cumulative effect is a decline in cost. Unless, listen, hold on, unless corporations refuse to lower prices despite inflation going down. And this is why you cannot take, this is why you cannot take just the cost of a product and use that as a measure of whether or not inflation is going down. So do you know that there's something called surveillance pricing happening right now? Do you know what surveillance pricing is?
I've heard of that.
But can you share with me what it is?
Well, I just wanted to say this real quick about inflation. When you have inflation, well, like you've already said, we always have inflation. I think we said what did we say? You said the average was 3% or 2.3%, 2.7%, something like that. So that means every year we have inflation of 2.7%, and that would be fine and healthy, according to what we discussed earlier. 2.7% is year over year over year, so it's constantly going up. Okay?
No, it's not.
It's not. Okay. Well, then I don't know how you can have inflation if it's not going up. If you have an inflation rate year over year at any rate, it's kind of like interest in a bank. It goes up every year. cares? You got money in a bank account. You got money in an IRA.
No.
It keeps
the rate of inflation is not. No. No. It's no.
I just read it to you. And
yeah, no, you keep reading. You keep reading AI overviews. So here's what I want you to here's what I want you to type in. Hold on. I'm going to give you something to type in, and you are allowed to read the AI overview to me. You ready? I want you to type it exactly like this. I want you to type, did inflation go down from July 2022 to January 2025?
Well, I already know the answer to that.
Nope. Type it in for me, please.
Did inflation go down?
From July 2022 to January 2025.
Okay, I'm going to read this to you. Yes, the annual inflation rate went down significantly between July 2022 and January 2025. The prices didn't go down.
Because prices alone
went down.
Because prices alone are not the indicator of the inflation rate.
Okay, so yes, the annual inflation rate went down.
Watch this. Can inflation go down and prices stay up? Watch this. The answer is going to be yes. Inflation can go down while prices stay high because a lower inflation rate only means that prices are rising more slowly rather than actually dropping. Why? Because corporations have figured out that people are willing to pay whatever the cost is. Therefore, corporations are going to keep that rate, that cost, exactly what it is so that they can increase their profits while you, the consumer, have to continue paying.
Yeah. So when I tell you cumulative inflation rate, I've proven that. That's a fact. It's year over year.
Jesus Christ.
Year,
listen to me. I'm tired of arguing with you about. Did you hear what I say now? I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
I'm not going to do it because let me tell you. So here's the place that we have reached. Here's the place that we have reached. You haven't proven anything. You haven't proven anything. Stop interrupting me. God, you're just being rude now. Stop. Stop.
I'm not a rude person.
Yeah, well, you are right now.
No.
Here's what you have proven. You have proven that you do not like facts in your face, and you are just going to stick to this cumulative thing that means nothing.
It does. What do you mean?
It doesn't mean anything. You don't understand what the cumulative process is, and you don't understand that.
I do.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You believe that the AI overviews that you are reading.
I read the definition of it.
According to AI.
Okay.
According to AI, which is a problem.
Okay, you look up you look it up.
Jesus Christ.
You search what cumulative inflation is, so we can get a better understanding of what cumulative inflation is. Because you're fact checking.
So do you understand?
So let your audience know what a cumulative inflation rate means. Let them know so that they stop thinking, oh, it's 2%, oh, it's 3%. That's what it is. It doesn't go back down. It's a starting point from the year prior.
Cumulative inflation means you are talking about prices of goods, regardless of the annual inflation rate. Literally, so listen. The cumulative rate of inflation measures the total percentage increases in prices, meaning that even when annual inflation slows down, prior price hikes are locked in rather than reversed, which is exactly what the fuck I just said to you. I literally just said to you, companies, listen, I literally just said to you, once companies realize what a consumer is willing to pay, they almost never drop the prices. Therefore, prices stay up even though the annual inflation rate goes down. It's literally what I just said to you. So the problem is not that Joe Biden didn't reduce inflation, because he did while wages increased, right? The problem is that greedy fucking corporations refuse to lower their prices. And that is why we are paying $8 and $9 for a pound of ground beef.
Okay, once we had the historic inflation of 9% in 1 year, once that happened,
it was not in 9 years. Jesus Christ!
It wasn't in 9. What?
It wasn't. We did not.
He had a 9% inflation rate. That was the highest
for the month. No, it peaked. Inflation peaked at 9.1% for 1 month in 2022. He did not have a 9% inflation increase in 1 year. No, he did not.
All right, that's a historic high.
For 1 month, it peaked in the peak of 1 month. And then what was it the next month?
I don't recall what it was. I know what the overall inflation rate was for Biden, which was 20%.
No, it was not. No, it was not.
Okay. I mean,
you just listen. So here's the thing. Now listen, I'm not arguing with you anymore. Listen, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not, because here's what you are doing. You are dangerous to listen. Stop interrupting me. You are dangerous because you refuse. You are. Your misinformation is dangerous. You refuse to listen to how math works and how I don't give a shit. I ask you to stop interrupting me, and I mean it right now. I mean it. Until I pause for you to speak again, don't interrupt me again. I've now reached my limit. And the reason I've reached my limit is because, like I said, I've shown you every graph, every bar, every fact from several different organizations, from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics themselves. I have explained to you the difference between cumulative inflation and the inflation rate. I have explained to you that prices are not about the president, but rather about corporations. Your inability or refusal to see those facts as what they are and to keep regurgitating some cumulative number as if that is an indicator of accuracy, I'm done with it. I'm overall done with it. And the crazy part about this is you are so attached to your ego and your need to prove your point rather than wanting to be accurately informed. And that is something I don't understand. I do not understand why your ego and your need to prove a point, right, is more important than being accurately informed about the information that we need to know as citizens to make great decisions in how we vote and in policy and in issues. I don't understand that.
Okay, so if you look at any measure of whatever you want to use, you can use that for each president up to the current, right? So
what are you talking about?
So you say, hey, I don't like cumulative number.
I didn't say I don't like a cumulative number. What I said is that the way that you are representing it is inaccurate.
Okay, but each president, you can insert any president you want and ask the same question, just change the president's name. And it's going to give you a cumulative inflation rate for each one.
And I don't care. And here's the reason why. And here's the reason why. Listen, listen. Here's the reason why I don't care. Because what I understand is that a cumulative inflation rate does not take into account the context and the situations of that presidential term. So it does not take into account whether or not there is a global pandemic. It does not take into account whether or not there is a deal with Russia and OPEC regarding oil and gas production. It does not take into account whether corporations have been bought out or not, or bailed out or not bailed out. It doesn't take into account whether or not those corporations are having record profits during that presidential term because they refuse to drop prices. What I understand about a cumulative inflation rate is it's just a fucking number if you don't know all the facts and the context of that number over that term.
Right. Well, you can look at it and then you can add the context as you're talking about to any one of those, right? So, for instance, if we look at the C-19 situation and how we responded to that, that was a big factor. You've seen a lot of the red states saying, hey, we want to end a lot of this stuff, and a lot of the blue states saying, no, we want to keep giving out these benefits and blah, blah, blah.
What benefits?
Now, okay, so, all right, so during the C-19, you can get the unemployment benefits, which was more than what you made at your job. You had a rent moratorium. You had rent help. There was a lot of money put out into the system during the C-19.
Okay, stop. Stop for a moment. Stop. I can't. You just have to pause.
Okay.
Yeah, you do. You have to pause for a minute. Because number one, what you just did was a pivot from the pits of hell. That's number one. Stop. Number one, that was a pivot from the pits of hell. Number two, those were not federal policies.
I know.
So this is the place where we're going to stop for a moment. We are not going to start talking about all of these things as if this was something that happened under Joe Biden because of Joe Biden. We're not going to do that. We're not, because it's not accurate. Different states did different things under C-19 when that was taking place, and they chose to handle it how they did. That
I agree with that. And so when that happens, right, you take a large state like California, a large state like Texas, a large state like Florida, New York, and their policies of how they're handling this situation is going to impact inflation for the country. These states are heavily populated.
In what way? I want you to tell me how those states choosing to do rent moratoriums, for example, impacted inflation. I want you to tell me how that's a factor in inflation.
Anytime, what we saw under Obama was,
look at my face. No. I am not talking about Barack Obama.
I'm not either.
No, you just said his damn name, so my answer is no.
Okay, I won't use his name.
No, we're not going to talk. Did you hear me now? And I mean it. I'm not kidding with you.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I said to you, and this is very specific. Now listen, here's the question. I want to make sure you hear me because this is real specific. I want you to tell me how a state choosing not to raise rent prices impacted inflation for the entire country.
Well, first off, I didn't say a state chose not to raise rent prices. I didn't say.
Did you not say a rent moratorium?
I said a rent moratorium. That's not they had a moratorium. You didn't have to pay rent at all. You didn't have to pay it.
Tell me again. This is what I want you to do. Tell me. Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
That's how I'm feeling too. But I'm not, listen, if you do a rent moratorium, right? You understand supply and demand. So you do a rent moratorium, but you also do rent help. You also do unemployment benefits that were paid
So-
more than people were making at their own job.
So first of all, wait,
you take.
I want you to answer me a question. I want you to tell me what the moratoriums were. I want you to tell me, hold on now, this is important because I like facts. I want you to tell me what states said to people, you don't have to pay rent and that rent is forgiven.
Okay, no, the rent wasn't forgiven. You just
Correct.
didn't do it.
So stop for a moment. Yep. So stop. So if people missed rent, what did the moratorium mean?
It meant that the landlord couldn't evict you. And I know that because I'm a landlord.
Great. Right. And then what had to happen after that?
What had to happen after that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we had historic amount of people being evicted when they lifted the moratorium, but each state lifted it at different times.
Yeah.
So that's why in DC you saw a historic amount of people being evicted because so there was two things going on with that. You had the moratorium and then you had the rent help. Right. So but they had it set up where the tenant is the one who had to apply for the rent help. And so if they didn't, then the landlord didn't get paid. So we had a historic amount of people losing their homes because some of the landlords needed that money to pay for their mortgages. We had a historic amount of people being evicted in some cities and municipalities and states. So Florida lifted it, for instance. Florida said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. So we didn't have that issue here in Florida.
So as a landlord, did you get PPP assistance?
No, not for being a landlord, I didn't.
No, but did you apply to get PPP assistance?
No.
No, why not?
I just didn't because the people that I had, if they, even though we had a moratorium, but it ended earlier than the rest of the country, they had rent help here in Florida. And so most of my tenants applied for the rent help. So they did that, so I didn't have to do that.
Okay, so if your tenants got rent help and you got your money, tell me how that impacted the national inflation.
Well, that's what I'm telling you is every state did something different, right?
Right, and so again, okay, I'm not doing this because I'm not going to argue about rent. I'm not. So let me tell you what we started this conversation. We started this conversation with your inaccurate claim regarding cumulative inflation. And
it wasn't inaccurate.
It was.
It
was. You misrepresented. Listen, you misrepresented because in your chat, you did not use the word cumulative at all. In your chat comment, right, and overall and cumulative are not the same things. They don't mean the same things at all. Okay, so that's number one. So we started this conversation with your inaccurate claim regarding inflation in the chat. We moved forward in this conversation with me giving correct information about inflation and me showing you, instead of reading AI overviews, okay, me showing you. Are you doing it again? Are you doing it again? Are you interrupting me again?
No, I'm not.
You are. You just did it.
No,
while I'm speaking. While I'm speaking, you literally just started talking.
All right, go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, I don't need your permission to keep going.
I know you don't.
Okay, great. So don't interrupt me again. Appreciate that.
You got it, sister.
Again, cumulative inflation is not an accurate representation of the Biden-Harris administration and their performance and policies regarding inflation and the drop in inflation and the inflation rate that happened from 2022 all the way down. it does not accurately demonstrate the 2022 causes for that inflation, right? It doesn't show you anything about the OPEC deal of 2020. We didn't even get to the oil crash in 2018, which we could, but we're not, right? Nor did you address the reason why cumulative inflation was the rate that it was. And it is because, why? Because corporations refused to lower prices once they found out what consumers were willing to pay. Okay. And we're still dealing with that right now in this moment. You then somehow pivoted to rent, which I don't even I'm not doing that at all. Period. In addition, okay, you refuse to understand. I ask you specifically, do you know what surveillance pricing is and that it's happening right now? I asked you to tell me what it was, and I don't even remember what you did, but you pivoted from it. So do you know what do you know what surveillance pricing is? And how many of you all understand that it's happening right now? Do you all know what surveillance pricing is? When you're shopping online? So right now, let's say, for example, you use DoorDash or you use Instacart or any of those. Those algorithms have figured out what I would be willing to pay for a particular product and what my daughter would be willing to pay for a particular product. We have a family Instacart, right? She was going to check out my cart for me while I was live. And when she went to check it out, the price was different than what it was when I went to check it out. And I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? It is literally because they have determined what other people are willing to pay. We've seen it when we both go to get a Lyft or an Uber. We get different prices for the same exact thing. That is because of corporations. Yep, Uber and Lyft do it, exactly. Right, Cortellus, same thing for flights. Good morning, mama. Right? And so, yeah, I always reject cookies, Cam, always. And so it's really important that people understand it's called surveillance pricing. So I'm just going to read to you. There's and there was the FTC. Let me see if I can put this in here for you. The FTC actually did a study on surveillance pricing. And and I'm just going to give you, this is from the press release from the FTC, January 17th, 2025. Now, I'm just going to give you all a little bit of background, okay? No, it's not about the neighborhood and the destination, Real Spock. This is literally about the person seeking the information, the person seeking the service or the product. All right? Follow. So, do you want to know why I understand a little bit more? I'm not an expert by any means, but do you want to know why I understand a little bit more about the global supply chain under C-19 and the groceries and the grocery pricing and why it did or didn't change under the Biden administration during and after C-19? Do you want to know why?
Sure.
For a year and a half, I attended FTC open meetings. So every other year under the Biden administration, Lena Khan, the chair of the FTC, held open meetings. And during open meetings, one of the things that they would do is they would have a public comment period where you would have 2 minutes to speak. And you could also submit written statements and presentations if you wanted to, or a video. So I literally attended those meetings and I spoke to the FTC specifically about a legal medical monopoly that exists in the state of Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. Okay. But during that time, what I got a chance to do was listen to the other people that were also testifying before the FTC. And some of the people that were showing up every single month were independent grocery store owners. And they were talking about how during C19, the larger grocery store chains were had gotten to the front of the supply chain line. And they were talking about the fact that what those people were able to price things for on their shelves is what they were paying to the supplier of the from the global supply chain, right? And so they were asking the FTC to use something called the Robinson-Patman Act to go after these companies. It's one of the reasons why the FTC blocked the merger of Kroger's and Albertson. Because if Kroger's and Albertson had been allowed to merge, Kroger's, Albertson, and Walmart would have controlled 70% of the grocery store market. 25 minutes, give or take which. So I literally listened to all of those independent grocers' testimony before the FTC for a year and a half. Yep, and Kroger openly admitted to price gouging during that time. So that is why when you want to argue with me about why cumulative inflation matters, and I know for a fact that these companies were refusing to lower prices and they were manipulating the supply chain market because of their size, it frustrates me because I literally know what the fuck I'm talking about. And you're reading AI overviews to me. And that is why I get frustrated. Because I literally have sat in the rooms and listened to the people living the experience, right? And read the reports from the FTC on the issue, which I know you haven't done. Because if you had, you would not be on the internet arguing with me about cumulative inflation. So the FTC put out a report on surveillance pricing. And they put out that report January 17th of 2025. Here is a little bit from that report. FTC surveillance pricing study indicates wide range of personal data used to set individualized consumer prices. The agency details interim insights from staff perspective examining how companies track consumer behaviors to inform surveillance pricing. The Federal Trade Commission's initial findings from its surveilling pricing market study revealed that details like a person's precise location, their browsing history, can be frequently used to target individual consumers with different prices for the same goods and services. The staff perspective, which you can download, is based on an examination of documents obtained by the FTC staff's 6B orders. If you don't know what a 6B order is, that is a specific type of study that they do, and they send them to these companies because they are requiring them to give information. They did a 6B study on the medical monopoly that I've been testifying about since fucking 2018, okay? And so they sent these 6B orders to several companies in July, aiming to better understand the shadowy market that third-party intermediaries use to set individual prices for products and services based on consumers' characteristics and behaviors like location, demographics, browsing patterns, and shopping history. Staff found that consumer behaviors ranging from mouse movements on a web page to the type of products that consumers leave unpurchased in an online shopping cart can be tracked and used by retailers to tailor consumer pricing. Quote, initial staff findings show that retailers frequently use people's personal information to set targeted, tailored prices for goods and services from a person's location and demographics down to their mouse movements on a web page. The FTC should continue to investigate surveillance pricing practices because Americans deserve to know how their private data is being used to set the prices they pay and whether firms are charging different people different prices for the same good or service, end quote. So this is something that is absolutely happening, and it's important that people know. So when you start to talk about the things that impact inflation, and you talk about cumulative inflation, you might want to be focused on what these corporations are doing and why the prices aren't falling and why people are getting different prices for the same product or services.
Okay, so if you're getting different prices, I don't like how that sounds to me, right? I think you should be paying the same price. Everybody should be doing that. But on the other hand, if it's gauging each individual, and some people may not be willing to spend as much money, I'm just listening to what you said. Couldn't it be good if there's some people who can end up buying a product for less than what I would if I make a lot of money and they don't? Wouldn't that be helpful? Couldn't that possibly be helpful at all?
No, what they do is they charge people the highest rate that they are willing to pay, right? That's what they do. They charge people the highest rate that they are willing to pay. And then they find the group of people willing to pay the most, and they target those people more than the other people. Right, Kim? It's predatory.
Okay,
so rather than, here's the thing. You should actually be paying the same as what someone else is paying.
Well, I mean, but across the country, there's places that they charge you different prices according to your income already.
In what way? Based on what?
Well, in California, you pay according to your income. Your electric bill is based on how much money you make.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is.
No, it is not.
It's called traditional tiered rates. You make more money.
Stop.
Pay more for your electricity. All right. Okay.
Stop.
I mean, I don't know. It's a fact. You can look it up.
No.
Look it up. Okay, don't look it up.
Stop.
It's just a fact. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Let me just say this. My damn daughter lived in LA for the last 5-6 years. Stop.
Okay. I mean, it's just a fact. She could live there. Maybe she doesn't. She might not even know. I don't know. But it says right here, electricity prices in California vary dramatically based on when you use your power, how much you consume, your income level, and your specific utility.
Say it again. Read the whole sentence again.
That's what I just...
No, read it again, damn it. Read it.
Yes, electricity prices in California
are based on what?
Dramatically.
They vary because they're based on what?
Well, don't just pick out one thing.
No, read the whole thing. Read the whole thing.
When you use power.
When,
right? That's one factor.
Keep going.
How much you consume.
How much?
Yep. Which we all know that.
Yep.
And your income level.
And what else? Keep going.
And your specific utility provider.
Exactly. Because why? Because depending upon your income, you may qualify for discounted rates because you do not have a sufficient income. So you qualify for California alternative rates for energy care, right? That's an income discount. You might qualify for the Family Electric Rate Assistance Program, FARA, right? You might qualify for that. It's not that you pay more because you make more. It's that you can pay less because you don't make anything. And that is in every damn state. But the cost of the bill itself is determined by when you use it, how much you use, right? And your provider.
Okay.
So stop doing that. Do you see the way you are misrepresenting information?
I'm not misrepresenting.
You are. You literally just said you pay more if you make more in California because it's set on your income. And that is just misrepresentation. Stop that. Jesus. This is why I said you are dangerous. Because the amount of, and so you know what makes you really dangerous? Is because you take a kernel of truth and then you misrepresent it. And that's what makes it dangerous. When there's a sliver of truth in what someone says, and then it is misrepresented to mean something different, that's what makes it incredibly dangerous. Jesus Christ. Okay, I need to just give you guys some information. Yep, which that's what I'm about to say. Right, Black Kingdom. What's up, Abu Bink? So let me just say this to you all. My granddaughter has an appointment with her lung specialist today. And so that means I have to leave here in about 12 minutes or so. I will be back and I will go live again this afternoon. So if you are new to me on TikTok and you want to be here when I come back, because we are going to continue to go over these court cases, which is where I started today. I don't know how the fuck I got to inflation and Joe Biden, but I did. Please do me a favor. Make sure that you click the follow button up on top. And also, if you would, click your little daily heart me and then click it again and claim your points. Okay? One of the things that is incredibly important and that I'm going to get to today, it is going to be these court cases because they are so important. There is an effort to get rid of, to reverse these court cases, and it is important that we talk about them. Plyler v. Doe, Humphreys executor v. United States, Thornburg v. Jingles, New York Times v. Sullivan, Oberfeld versus Hodges, and Griswold versus Connecticut. They are incredibly important. And we must have these conversations so that we are doing our due diligence on a state level and a federal level as these midterms are coming up. Okay? So,
Hello.
Can you share with me? So I'm just gathering from your positions that you voted for Trump in 2024. Would that be an accurate deduction?
That would be accurate.
Okay. So can you share with me what it is about his policies and his performance in his first term that made you believe he was the best choice for 2024?
Well, it really wasn't necessarily about Trump.
Well, I didn't say him. I said his policies.
From the Democrat Party.
So wait, here's what I asked. I want to be clear about what I asked. Here's what I asked. I was asking, what was it about his policies and his performance in his first term that made you believe he was the best choice for 2024?
Like I said, it wasn't really necessarily him. I only had two choices.
So what made you believe that choosing him was a better option than Vice President Kamala Harris?
Not because of the way things were going in the country under Biden and Kamala Harris. I mean,
specifically what?
They were pushed. Every aspect. We went over the inflation. You don't agree with my assessment of it, but
no. We're not going to do that. We're not going to say I don't agree with your assessment of it. And we're not going to do that.
That's what I'm
Nope.
saying. I mean,
We're not going to do that. Listen, nope. We went over the inflation. We went over the inflation, right? And your understanding of inflation is inaccurate. So is it? Nope.
Was high.
Nope. And,
okay, the inflation was high. I mean, that's doesn't.
But it was not at the time. No, it wasn't. Nope. At the time when we got to the 2024 presidential election, inflation was not high. Inflation was sitting at 2.8, 2.9%. So no, sir, we are not going to say inflation was high when it came to the presidential election in 2024, because that's not true.
Well, you asked me a question. I'm telling you how I felt about it. And
right. You can tell me how you feel, but they just weren't the facts. So inflation wasn't high. Okay. You just felt like it was. But go ahead.
Okay. All right. That's some revisionist history right there.
No. It's not revisionist fucking history. No, it's not. Okay. It's an accurate understanding of the facts.
Okay. So skipping past that one then, since we don't agree on that.
Since I like facts and you don't. But go ahead.
Right. We had there was an issue with the border. What
was the issue?
It just was we making an app for people to apply.
Who made the app? Who made CBP1?
I don't know who made it, but
I can tell you who made it. Do you want to know? Because I actually know. CBP1 was actually created and launched under the Trump administration in his first term.
Okay, who?
What do you mean? For everyone. Do you even know what the app is used for?
Yeah, my understanding it wasn't made for asylum seekers.
It was made for anyone that wanted to schedule an appointment at the border.
Okay.
Anyone.
All right.
So here's the way that it worked. If I was coming to seek asylum and I was going to show up at a port of entry, then I could schedule my appointment at the port of entry to go through my asylum process. If I was a U.S. citizen coming home from Germany and I wanted to schedule my Customs and Border Patrol re-entry, I could use the app to do so. It was designed and launched under the Trump administration during his first term.
Okay.
Yeah, Mama, probably two.
CBP1 is a mobile application developed by U.S. Customs and Border Protection that was used during the Biden administration to schedule border appointments for asylum seekers.
No. What are you reading from?
I'm reading from Google.
Right, you're reading an AI overview, so stop it.
Okay, well, why?
So, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. No, stop. I told you. I can't stand that misinformation bullshit.
Cool.
You're going to stop. And I'm not kidding with you. You're not doing that shit. So it was actually created and launched October 28th of 2020 under the Trump administration.
Okay.
Period. So I'm not doing that.
Can I read this to you?
No, you cannot.
Why not?
The answer is no. And I'm going to tell you why. Stop. I'm going to tell you why. The app literally made it so that people could schedule appointments for accurate fucking immigration inspection, legal immigration inspection. So I don't give a fuck if you don't like the app. It was created and designed and launched under the Trump administration for legal appointments with Borders and Customs Patrol. So I don't give a shit if you don't like it. It is literally an app for legal immigration access.
It was for cargo and travel.
Did you hear what I just said to you? Did you hear what I said to you?
Purpose.
Did you hear what I said to you? No, it wasn't.
All right, so how okay, so if you're saying it's not what I'm saying.
Did you hear what I said to you?
Source that.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear me or no?
I don't know what you're
Did you hear? So I'm gonna say it again. I don't give a fuck if you don't like the app. Period. Because the app is being utilized. Listen, what?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Yeah, because you don't want to do that.
I don't want to do what? Police your language?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that.
Look,
You can miss me with
I
all
said
of that
something you don't
misogynistic
like.
bullshit. You can miss me
It's
with every
misogynistic.
bit of that misogynistic bullshit.
There was no misogyny.
Yeah, it is. You don't want to do that.
Why are you?
Because you don't ask men that question. You will not ask me that question.
I'll ask
Ever.
anybody
And
that
I don't give,
question.
listen, you don't like my language, leave.
I could do that. Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, that's up to
mean,
you.
it's okay.
You don't like my language,
I
you can
know.
leave.
It-
This
it's
is
up-
my
it's
language.
up to me.
See, I
Listen,
happen to
I would
believe
just-
in the United States of America, I love free speech. And so my speech
I
is
know
my
that.
speech. If you don't like my speech, that's on you.
Exactly.
Right? Okay, exactly.
No, not
So
really,
here's
because
what I'm
there's-
saying. Here is what I'm saying, and I mean it. Okay? So what I asked you specifically is, what was the issue with immigration? I don't care if you don't like a legal app that was being used for legal assessment at the border. I don't care about that.
I didn't tell you I didn't like the app.
You did say it.
Right?
You did say you didn't like the app.
I said.
And I don't care if you didn't like I don't care if you didn't like what the app was being used for. The app was being used for legal immigration assessment, period.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I would like for you to do, Nah. I would like for you to tell me what Title 42 is in immigration.
What Title 42 is?
Yeah, what's Title 42?
Let's see.
Don't Google it.
Don't Google it. Why not?
Because you had a problem with immigration, which means you should know what Title 42 is.
Not necessarily.
Yes, it is. Because I'm going to tell you why. Because if you say to me that you have an issue with the Biden-Harris immigration policy, then you should already know what Title 42 is. Because Title 42 is the immigration policy that was being used because of COVID, that was launched during the Trump administration as a direct result of C-19. And it was the immigration policy up until 2023, when the Biden-Harris administration stopped fighting Republicans to get it removed and reinstitute Title 8. So if you had a problem with immigration under the Biden administration, then you better know what the fuck Title 42 is. Or you don't know what was actually happening at the border. Which color me fucking surprised that you don't.
Okay.
Right, you don't, right?
A pandemic era public health restriction used by United States authorities to immediately expel migrants at the southern border without giving them a chance to seek asylum. Originally invoked by the Trump administration in March 2020,
yep,
and continued under Biden administration, the policy officially expired on May 11th, 2023.
Which is exactly what I just said. And do you know why it didn't? Do you know why it didn't expire earlier? Do you want to know why? I can tell you why, and then you can fact check me with 8i. Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay, because the Biden administration moved to withdraw Title 42, and Republican states sued the Biden administration to keep Title 42 in place. Go ahead, Google it.
Okay, but of course they want to keep that.
Nope, nope. Google it. Because then I'm going to tell you what the problem is. Then I'm going to tell you what the problem is with Title 42. Go ahead.
All right, you want me to Google what?
What I just said. When you wasn't listening?
No, I wasn't.
Of course you weren't. So let me just, okay, so I ain't got time for you because I got to go take care of my daughter. But listen, really quickly, this is what I'm going to show people. Stop talking. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually show people so that you all know what I'm talking about. And then when I come back, we will go into greater detail. You all will see me, and I'm giving you like a rough estimate because I'm not exactly sure what time her appointment will end. But 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be back. Until then, I'm going to give your ass some homework, okay? So you can actually look at the difference between Title 42 and Title 8. Title 42 is a public health policy, not a law, which means what? There's no penalty if you try to enter the border illegally. So Title 8 is our normal immigration law. Under Title 8, the processing time was an hour and a half. Under Title 42, it was less than 15 minutes. Under Title 8, it was a misdemeanor and you got a possible fine. Under Title 42, there was absolutely no penalty for trying to illegally enter the country. Under Title 42, under Title 8, if you tried it twice, it became a felony. You could no longer seek asylum, and you could get up to 5 years in prison. However, under Title 42, there was no penalty for repeat offenders. So under Title 8, we had a recidivism rate, an average of 7%. Under Title 42, people tried it damn near 30% of the time. 27% recidivism rate. So the Biden administration wanted to go back to Title 8, where there were more stringent restrictions and daggone penalties for illegally entering the country, and we had a low recidivism rate. Republicans were like, hell no, we're going to keep you right here so that your numbers look astronomical because people are trying it 30% more repeatedly than under regular law. So if you had a problem with the Biden administration, then you would have a problem with Republicans that kept fucking up immigration so that people would use their bigotry and vote for Donald Trump in 2024 instead of Kamala Harris. This is what happens when you don't know fucking facts and you read AI overviews.
You know, the bigotry is not what it is.
It is.
For everybody.
It is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I know you like to say that.
No, it's not y'all. I don't know who y'all is.
You just used it.
Who is y'all? My name is Dani. My name's not y'all.
Yeah, well, you use it so you're included in the y'all's.
No, I'm not. Who's y'all?
Stuff like that.
No, I'm not included in shit. I'm me.
Whoever says if you vote for this, you're a bigot.
No, I didn't. Nope, this is not what I said. I'm specifically referencing immigration.
Right.
Right.
And that's
So
what
I said to you, who is y'all?
you just used bigotry. You just used it.
Right. Yes. And my name is Dani. You can call me Dani.
All right.
Yeah, that's my name. That's my name. My name is Dani. Don't be mad at me because you don't know immigration.
I'm not mad at all. I'm not
Don't, whatever it is. Thank you, Kat. Listen, you don't like the fact that you don't know immigration.
I'm not mad. And
I don't care if you're mad or not. I don't care if you're mad or not. Here's the thing. You do not have accurate information. Here's what you can do. Come back at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when I'll be back. And I will gladly teach you about immigration.
So you can continue to berate me.
No, I haven't berated you.
Yes.
No, I haven't. Listen, no, I haven't.
I like the way you.
No, I haven't. If you want me to, I can, but I haven't.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't. So, folks, I will happily go over immigration when I come back. Okay? I will happily do that because it's important. It's important, and we can go over it because midterms are coming in 68 days, and people need to be accurately informed, not reading AI and then misrepresenting information. So make sure that you're following. Love you all, mean it. And I will be back at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the latest. Okay? Appreciate you all very much. See y'all later.